north, so it's across from the Crab Company. So it's not really in front of anybody's house. That also, think about it, when people are headed south, they'll turn onto 209. It'll get them onto our site rather than continue on down 209. This is also something the county engineer recommended. So that's why it's there, and I don't see any reason to change it. Otherwise, I feel like we've done everything you've asked us to do. So if I can answer any additional questions.
I was looking at this on the way down here tonight. And you might need to answer this best if anyone knows, is DOT still going to allow, when you're headed south on 17, to make a left on 209 to make that turn? Because right now it looks like it's blocked off or somewhat. Is that just all the construction work?
It's just construction.
I think there is a left turn there.
Okay.
Yeah, just a left turn.
Okay. And we're going to hear some public comment, I'm sure, but you addressed two of the big sticking points for me. I mean, the citizens advisory is, actually, I like this design. It's not the design. I have some issues with the written statement. And one of them is the maximum height of the buildings. So if you're okay with going to 3 stories on that. And the other one is that big ugly sign that's there right now. I'd like to see that definitely. It's a PCD. One of the things, the requirements for a PCD is that it's better. It improves the site better than the standard zoning. And a big improvement would be to take that thing down and put a monument sign up under whatever guidelines you have here.
My owner's not here, so he'll love me that I said yes.
Okay. That's all, Pete. Thank you.
If I could, I don't think you answered the question on the height of this column and fence. Is it
It's a 6 feet
It's
tall.
6 foot? 6 foot. Okay, thank you.
My question is, what is the material between the two masonry points?
Vinyl fence.
It will be vinyl.
Yeah, with landscape both on the front side and the back side. Required on both sides, because that was one of the other things we added.
I would also be in favor of the monument sign.
Any other questions, applicant? Commissioner Benjamin?
Could you address my question about the 0 square feet minimum lot area and 0 minimum feet, minimum lot width, why you use those values?
They were just in the original zoning on BB5, I think is what it came from. They don't mean anything because we have to meet the setbacks on the 209 side, which is 10. We're actually going 15, so we increase that. And on the Bahama Bluff side. So we changed those to make it a little harder on the PCD.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I have one card, Mr. Knight. Open the public hearing.
Thank you so much, and thank you for all the work that everybody does. Eddie Knight, 1394 Bahama Bluff Road. We're not, really against the development of business in our area, but we do want to respect that it is a residential area. And a gentleman spoke on what I think one of our biggest concerns is a wall, not a landscape screen, but a wall. A brick wall, a masonry wall, not columns, but it is one of the oldest neighborhoods in the county, and we've been there for over 23 years, and there's been people been there almost 100 years. But what we're asking is that you really, really hold them hard to a masonry fence the whole length of the project, the development. That's the only thing that really is going to protect us as a neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. I have no other cards. Does anybody else wish to speak on this agenda item? Where's your card, lady?
I will fill it out on the way back. Thank you. Hi, my name is Helena Cormier. My address is on file. I just want to say thank you again for all of y'all on what you're doing. Thank you for the attention to detail on trying to examine this and trying to do everything. And I appreciate the developer and everybody trying to work to bring this back in ways that meet the community needs. For me personally, I would like to see one of those conditional uses not allowed would be that medical marijuana store. I see that when the council has already allowed them to have the alcohol usage that was an added benefit for them. And then when you add this on top of it, I just see it as a problem waiting to happen. And so I don't know if that would be one that they would be willing to exclude, but I think it would be a great idea and consideration. So thank you again for all that y'all do and all the work from everybody.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak to this item? Yes, sir. No?
I need to give the address again?
We need to log you in as talking on this item. Does he need another card? Okay, we'll add it to your list.
Okay. All I want to do is say I heard a lot of stuff coming from what you guys all thought what it was going to be. Fence, zoning, all these different things. And I wanted to get up here before Mr. Davis hits the gavel and you guys vote on it to make sure that everything that that gentleman said is written and down on paper. I've seen enough developers over time change the program. And you guys had tons of questions, but I don't know if you have it actually written down and that it's actual factual, and it should be redone and presented back to you again to make sure that everything's correct. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, sir. Any other comments?
One more.
Did you take the oath, ma'am?
Pardon me? I
Did you
have not.
take the oath?
Yes, I did.
Good, thank you.
Thank you for hearing me, Commissioners. My name is Joan Baisley, B-A-Z-L-E-Y. I live at 3144 Baisley Road, Green Cove Springs, Florida. That's off of Mahama Bluff Road. I'm one of the ones who mentioned the brick wall because it's permanent. It would be attractive. I'm for growth and development that is planned and considered carefully. I do think that what the other gentleman said was that these ideas are put down permanently in paper. And also, as far as the brick wall, I would, or a decorative block, something that is permanent, and I think you can forget about vegetation, which dies, but the brick wall should stay. But that should be included before the first shovel of dirt is turned, not after, because people forget. Or it requires staff to come out and say, oh, you haven't done this yet. And then you have a harangue with legal on whether it should be done, who approved it, when it was done. So I'm very much, I realize it's expensive, but I think to make an attractive improvement with a commercial development that would also complement the neighborhood would be better than something that's falling down in 5 or 10 years, or the vegetation has died and looks terrible. So I would, again, like this last gentleman said, if it's in writing so that at a later point in time, people don't forget. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments? Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Would the applicant want to make any further comments?
Just so that we're clear, everything is in writing. It does say that we'll put up the fence, the gates. It also says it'll be done in phase 1. First thing it has to be done is, once the grading and the retention, that wall's got to go in, or that sign the fence and columns have to be the first thing we construct. It's in that, the part. So we've written down everything we can, and with the amendments of the 3-story, we should be good.
Questions?
Not necessarily for the applicant, but I wanted to ask my fellow commissioners here that are, or you might be able to ask Mr. Harwig, what are we looking at difference of cost between a wall and the fence that's proposed?
Big bucks.
Is it, that's a fairly major cost, right?
Talking
Yeah.
$300 a foot.
Okay. The other, I wanted to make one general comment, if I could, Mr. Chair, to the audience, because I just want you guys, I know that a lot of people don't get involved in this process all the time like we do, that all of these documents that you hear us referring to, every one of them is on the county website. It's public record. there is this entire package that we look at. Now, it's not out there for a month. It gets posted like last Thursday or so. So it's not too long before the meeting. But the county's website, which is, got to listen to this one, Clay County Gov, claycountygov.com. I don't know who came up with that name, but that's the one they've got. And if you go on there and look under I think it's under meetings, and you look to the planning meeting, all of these documents are there. All of this, all the staff report, everything. So we're not talking about anything in secret. It's there if you want to look at it. And Mr. Chair, to the applicant's point, I'm going to make a motion if you're ready, but I'm going to fix two things in here we've talked about: the sign and the height in the motion. But it's here. You know, it's all written down. Everything that he said is actually in this document that is going to be part of the ordinance that the BCC will vote on, and all of that becomes essentially law in the county. It's ordinance. So
I do have a comment. I would, because of the cost of putting in a completely, like from end to end, masonry wall, I don't object to the vinyl between I don't object to the vinyl in between the columns, the masonry columns, but is there a way that we can have them put something other than white in? Because white has a tendency over time to develop a lot of mold and would make it ugly, especially in the event that vegetation dies and things of that consideration. So that would be my recommendation, to see if we can change that to make sure that they have like either a gray or a brown or something of that nature, vinyl as opposed to white.
I'm not sure that needs to be in the ordinance, but I think the applicant has heard that request. And I don't think there's a difference in cost between those colored vinyls and the white vinyl.
I
So
don't think there is.
that's an easy fix for them. Are you ready for a motion, Mr. Chair?
Any other comments, commissioners? Please.
Mr. Chair, I still have some reservations on this, but I think the applicant has he's really worked with the county to try to get this to something that probably will look pretty nice when it's finished. So I'm going to move the staff report with the following changes in my recommendation. The first one is, in the written statement, that the maximum height of structures should read should say 3 stories. Is that good?
No, I would specify the feet.
35 feet? I mean, that's pretty
35 is the standard. I would
Okay.
specify, because and I don't want to jump on top
No,
of you,
that's
Commissioner
good.
Puglia, but if they go 10 feet, 12 feet, then the building is going to exponentially get bigger, and we have no control over that. So I would say, let's narrow it down
Let me
to the
make
feet.
this motion then. So I'm going to move the staff report. The building height will be limited to 35 feet. Make that recommendation change. And the second one is that existing sign that's there now be removed and be replaced with a monument sign. And can I get a second on that?
I'll second the motion for discussion.
And I just want to see, is that going to be okay with the applicant? Okay. All right, so that's my motion and second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. Thank you very much. Item number 4, public hearing, consider transmittal of comp 260010. And this is only to vote on the transmittal, correct? On this one and the next one?
And I'll be doing a brief presentation on this. The applicant will also be doing a more thorough presentation. This item will also be going to the July 28th Board of County Commissioners meeting for considering for transmittal. The applicant is Bellamy Property Holdings, care of BTI Partners. The agent is Casey Dendor from England, Timms and Miller. Casey is here tonight. The location, this application applies only to the Agricola property located south of State Route 23, west of US 17, which is in the Southeast Clay District, Planning District. It's Commissioner Burke's district, and it relates to two parcels that comprise the Agricola development. The application is a request to remove capital improvements element policy 1.3.6 from the 2045 comprehensive plan. There were sign postings out there, and our signs are a little bit confusing because they're typically related to a land use change, and so the language includes changing from one district to another district typically, and so the applicant amended this to clarify that this is a text amendment to delete CIE policy 1.3.6. It still has a little bit of residual language, so it's unfortunately been a little confusing, but this is a text-only amendment. There is no land use change to this. In 2024, the Agricola development was approved. Access points were shown as Bellamy Road South at US 17 and Leno Road, also at US 17, and there were concerns at the time about the impacts that could occur to US 17. And there was no connectivity to Governor's Park. There was actually one potential opportunity for connection, and I know that was a big discussion item with the board. And without having that connection to Governor's Park, there wouldn't be that direct access to Clay Dairy Parkway and State Route 23, which would be very advantageous. So CIE policy 1.3.6 was adopted as a threshold so that there would be a reexamination of the impacts to the US 17 section, and to look at it prior to the development of the first two phases of the residential, which is the 1251st permit, would be those first two phases. And the idea was that they should look at the traffic impacts and see if any additional improvements were needed. So since 2024, Agricola has changed hands and will be coming forward with a revised development plan. You'll be seeing lots of these Agricola and Governor's Park over the next couple of months. This is the plan that is showing, a revised plan showing the connection to Governor's Park. And this is what you will be seeing in the future in PUD 26-7, which should be coming in September. Back in March, the traffic analysis study was completed as required by this policy. And that study factored in the Agricola entitlements, everything that was approved for Agricola, all the residential, commercial, industrial. And it also factored in these 2 points of connection to Governor's Park, which was a different plan than what was originally projected for the agriculture, for the Agricola. So the traffic pattern was obviously going to be different than what was the original plan. So the findings of the study were that 2 segments of US 17 will actually exceed capacity in the future, but that was not tied to the project traffic. That was factoring background traffic. So Agricola will not impact significantly during phases 1, 2, or 4. And this can be further explained. The agent is here and can give more detail if needed in that. So the application is a text amendment to the comp plan, which would require review by the state and reviewing agencies, including FDOT, and they would certainly be looking at the traffic study to make sure the impacts to 17 are as stated. So comp 26-3, staff finds that the applicant has provided the traffic impact analysis as required by the policy, and recommends that this amendment be transmitted to the state for review. With that, do you have any questions?
Any questions, staff? Okay, applicant?
Good
Sorry.
evening, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I am not Casey Dendor. I am Ellen Avery Smith with the law firm of Rogers Towers, and my address is 100 Whetstone Place in St. Augustine. But Casey is here. She's with England, Timms and Miller, as are Ray Spofford, and Reed McDaniel and Thomas Hatcher, who is the traffic engineer. We are all here on behalf of, with BTI Partners, which is really the development agent, if you will. Kevin Kramer from BTI is here. And as Ms. Carson alluded to earlier, this property that is subject to the already approved Agricola, so there's a development agreement that exists, there is a planned unit development, and obviously this comprehensive plan amendment application. Sorry, I went past my slide. The property that we're talking about tonight is owned by an entity that I will loosely call affiliated now with the owner of Governor's Park and the G-Bar Ranch, which we will talk about in the next application. So just by overview, these three projects, if you will, are owned by quote unquote, and I'm using that not in a legal term, but by way of explanation, of affiliated entities. And we'll talk about that as we go through the presentations of both of them this evening. Just by way of explanation, today we're just here to talk about the Comprehensive Plan Amendment text policy change, which really just removes the requirement to do the traffic study because Mr. Hatcher from ETM has done the traffic study and your expert staff has reviewed it. And so if you have any questions about the traffic study itself, Mr. Hatcher can come up and talk about that. When we regroup after this comp plan amendment application comes back from state review, then we're going to come back to this board for an amendment to the development agreement. Again, there's already an existing development agreement with Agricola. We're amending it and restating it. And then there's also an existing PUD, planned unit development zoning for Agricola, which we are also going to amend and restate, meaning we're going to show you all of the changes, but it's going to be one master document, not just an amendment. You can't tell what's going on, for lack of a better way of saying it. So again, we're reevaluating the traffic with the connectivity through to Governor's Park, which Mr. Spofford's going to talk about, simplifying the development criteria for the Agricola project, and then maintaining the same open space buffer requirements and the feel, if you will, of Agricola that your board heard about 2 years ago. So with that, I'm going to let Mr. Spofford do his thing.
Good evening, Commissioners. Just for the record, I'm Ray Spofford with England, Timms and Miller. We are the planning and engineering consultants for BTI. I'm going to go through, start with kind of an overview of the major development in the vicinity and talk about the major roadway network. There's actually been a couple of major improvements that have been completed since approval of Agricola in 2024. First start with the First Coast Expressway. As you know, there were two segments from Blanding Boulevard to 16 and 16 now all the way over to State Road 16 just before the bridge that have since been completed. That is the bold orange line you can see going through Governor's Park. And then for Green Cove Springs bypass, now called Clay Dairy Parkway, from 17 up to State Road 16, and then it'll continue through Peters Creek on around to back to US 17. The first segment is well under construction, and I'll cover that a little bit more later. The interchange ramps are almost under construction. We're waiting on a construction contract from DOT, and so that should be within the next month or two. And then at the top of the page, north is Cathedral Oaks Parkway. That has also been constructed since approval of Agricola. That roadway should provide some relief to State Road 16 to the south as well. And finally, on this map, you'll see there's no interconnection between Governor's Park and Agricola. All of that project traffic had to go out to US 17, as Beth had covered, either by Bellamy Road South, which is a northern connection, or Leno Road South to the south. The map on the left is kind of the existing condition where you see no connection. And then the map on the right is the connection from the Clay Dairy Parkway and Governor's Park south through Agricola, which will then turn east and go out to US 17. This map also shows the inclusion of G-Bar Ranch, and we'll talk more about that in the next presentation. But as you can see, the Clay Dairy Parkway goes through the middle of G-Bar Ranch. The CIE policy 136 that we'd like to delete is actually very long and wordy. So I try to distill it down to 3 key points. One, prior to the phase, it includes a 1251st unit. We have to conduct a traffic study. And then that traffic study, if you identify any level of service of failures that are attributable to the project, and then propose an amendment to the development agreement, which includes access modifications and/or other mitigative measures. Okay, this map on the left is just a reminder that the approved Agricola development currently includes, is the top right are the 2 tables, includes 4,000 residential units that are approved today and about 1.98 million square feet of non-residential. About 640,000 square feet of that non-residential was an educational campus, which we've kind of field tested a little bit. We don't believe that's going to be an option in this location. When we come back with a development agreement and the PUD modification, you'll see on the top right, the table shows no increase in residential units, and there is just over a 1 million square foot decrease in non-residential. The map on the right also shows the roadway segments that are planned, some of which are under construction. I can go through these fairly quickly. The Clay Dairy Parkway south segment from US 17 to the interchange ramps is currently under construction, expected to be completed next year, by the end of next year in 2027, at a cost of $22 million. The purple segment is what's called Medallion Boulevard. That'll be a 4-lane divided roadway that will connect ultimately to Agricola. And that should be completed in 27, possibly a little bit later, 2028. And that's a $17 million cost. And then the final 2 segments in the Agricola are to be determined. Those have not been designed yet, although we're ready to go to design. The interchange ramps, as I mentioned earlier, are about to go under construction at a $40 million cost and should be completed in 2028. So significant improvements planned and underway. The traffic study findings, basically there are no LOS failures attributable to the Agricola project. It was from background traffic, as you might expect, with a connection to Clay Dairy Parkway. A lot more traffic is going to be dispersed through Governor's Park to the expressway or further up to State Road 16. However, we did find that the Bellamy Road South connection out to 17 needs to be constructed prior to Phase 3 as a 2-lane road. You'll see that in the development agreement when it comes back in this fall. And obviously with the US 17 connection to FDOT, we need to go through intersection control evaluation and permitting. Also, the traffic study found that the segment within Governor's Park on the Clay Dairy Parkway between Medallion Parkway and the interchange, we need to accommodate that as a 6-lane road, which we have done so through design. So just in summary, I'd like to recommend transmittal of the amendment to delete policy 136 based on the findings of the traffic study. And I'll have Ellen to come back up and give a few conclusions here.
Thank you very much for your attention. We appreciate the excellent staff report, which does recommend transmittal of the application to the state. So with that, if you have any questions of any of our subject matter experts, please let us know, and we appreciate your attention this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Any questions of the applicant?
I just have one. I get all of this, I really do. But why is it so important to delete this CIE? because you're kind of using a crystal ball to look. We don't know when you actually get to these phases as an Agricola if traffic has changed and there are some problems, and we do need a study again. It's like you're trying to get that off the table to future-proof this project.
Well, actually, and I understand your point, so let's talk about
Okay.
that. As I started off with when we started the conversation at the beginning of this hearing, we have the case, and I don't know if I'm allowed to, if I can pull up the map again. Sorry, thank you. Oops, sorry, I changed it. So, no, that's the wrong map. I want to go to a different one. Sorry, give me 1 minute, please. I'm technically inefficient. Oh, no. Okay, if you look at the map on the left-hand side here, and we started off today talking about the fact that when Governor's Park and Agricola were both approved by Clay County, they were owned by two different owners. And this is all covered in your staff report. So the owner of Governor's Park said, in essence, we don't want you to connect Clay Dairy Parkway down through Agricola, owner of Agricola property. And so Governor's Park took Clay Dairy Parkway across the First Coast Expressway to connect to US 17, shown on the map on the left. Now we have affiliated entities that own Governor's Park and Agricola. And they've said, yes, we understand the point about interconnectivity of these projects. And they did a traffic study to satisfy the requirements of the comprehensive plan text policy for Agricola to prove that this interconnection satisfies that requirement. And also there was a gentleman in the audience earlier who spoke about traffic on US 17. This provides an interconnection from State Road 16 down through this whole property, through the First Coast Expressway, and then down through Governor's Park and Agricola back out to US 17. So it's a new regional transportation network. And since I'm not the project planner, I'm going to ask Ray if he's got anything to add.
Yes, it was essentially a traffic condition that had to be done before you got to that level of development.
Okay.
And so we've done the study.
And
It is essentially a traffic condition that required a study to be done before we got to that level of development. So we've done the study, made the access modifications, lowered the amount of non-residential and the impact on US 17. And so now we just want to have it removed. And it's important to have it removed for the following reason.
Right.
So for financing the infrastructure, primarily the roadways, the bonding, it does not work if you have a condition that doesn't show that you can execute the whole plan. In other words, the residential helps pay for the roads, and in order to get that bonding through a CDD, for example, you need to have the assurance that you can complete the entire plan. And so that's a major reason for getting rid of it now, so that we can actually build the infrastructure before the impacts at no cost to the public.
I got to ask for clarification on this, Ray, because I'm not looking at this from a really technical point the way you guys are, legal and technical. But I've been doing this long enough to know. I mean, look at what you guys have presented. We had 2 projects 2 years ago. Now we have 1 project, sort of. What says we get rid of this requirement and the road doesn't get built? How is the county guaranteed that road gets built?
I got you.
Okay?
Yes. Yeah, that'll be part of the development agreement and the PUD, that road will get built, because,
So a follow-up.
okay.
Are we putting the cart before the horse? Shouldn't we make sure the development agreement is in place before we remove this requirement?
Well, this is transmittal, and we'll come back for adoption, and it will be part of the final approval. Am I not following you?
No, you're correct about transmittal, but I've always said that if you transmit it, the days of us getting something back and after we transmit it and it not going through are gone. So you know, my position is if this is the cart before the horse, this needs to come back after we do the development agreement to make sure that we're getting the road. Because Lord knows we don't want to not have the road. And there's just been too many instances where, you know, promises are made and gifts are exchanged and it doesn't happen.
Right, and I understand your
I
point.
need to be clear, there's no gifts that have been exchanged. Let me just clarify that right now. Please continue.
Thank you. From the legal, and I understand your point, but from a legal perspective, we have a development agreement now that includes this exact language. We are asking in that development agreement to take that out and the comp plan text policy, because the developer in the development agreement, it's a statutory development agreement that is entered into. It's a binding contract between Clay County and the property owner, actually. And so it requires that the property owner maintain and construct these roadway segments. And it's all very spelled out in writing with maps in that development agreement. And we will be coming back, or actually, I guess we go to the county commission for that development agreement when this comp plan amendment is adopted.
I'm going to tell you, I'm still having issues with this cart before the horse because the development agreement that's in place, what you're telling me is there has this requirement.
And we're seeking to amend it in
And
compliance with the
once that development agreement changes, then this requirement really becomes moot, right?
Well, but sir, the development agreement and the comp plan text policy require a traffic study be done. The traffic study is being done, and 1 million square feet of non-residential space is being removed from the Agricola project. So the traffic study has been reviewed by the professional staff, and they agree that it meets the requirements of the comprehensive plan text policy as well as the development agreement. And that's why we're here today.
Okay, I think we can go a lot about this because I think the logic is kind of circular, so I think I'm finished for now.
I would just like to ask staff if I could for a minute, Mr. Chair, may I? Okay. So the cart before the horse, the sequencing, can you walk us through how this makes it into the development agreement if this gets approved today?
This is not getting approved today. It is a transmittal to
The
the
transmittal,
state.
I mean,
Correct.
yes.
So it's a transmittal to the state. It would go to them, it would come back, and it would go back to the board along with the development agreement at the same time. So that is the plan. They would both go in September.
And that's the normal procedure?
That would be the normal
And
procedure.
so it wouldn't come back to us, it would go to the BCC?
Correct.
Okay,
It does not.
okay, I just wanted to understand that. I think maybe that addresses, I understand your concern, like I totally get it, so,
If I
thank
may-
you.
if I
And
may-
also, Ms.
if I may.
Dindor just reminded me that actually the comp plan amendment will be approved first before the development agreement. So you will know that with certainty that this is all taking place on the same day at the same set of public hearings.
If I may, Ms. Smith, you had mentioned, I thought I heard you say something about a contract. Is there a contract with the county of some sort? Is there some legal writing that we can ask council what their feeling is on that, and if that would hold up based on what Mr. Puckhaber was mentioning?
Yes, sir. I mean, it is a statutory development agreement under Chapter 163 of the statutes. There's already one in place for this project, and what we're doing is amending and restating it. And so that's the agreement that will come before the county commission in September. And the county attorney's office is aware of that, and, I mean, come up here and
Does it-
talk about, but I will say, it is a binding contract between the county and the property owner.
Yeah, I would just like to make sure that there's something in place.
Yes, there's a development agreement for the Agricola property that dates back to 2024 when the project was approved.
Right.
That, as part of this whole amalgam of agreements and proposals that have been being brought forward, there is a proposed amended and restated development agreement. So the things like the traffic study and the elimination of the CIP or the CIE 1.3.6 is all encompassed in the development agreement that's proposed. And we met last week with the team and staff to preliminary talk about that, and that is all set to be coming back in September. So all the parties are aligned with the process, the procedure, and the timing.
So when the transmittal comes back from the state, they are required to do what was originally in that agreement plus this addition.
They're required to, you mean in the development agreement?
Yeah, in the development agreement, they're still required to put this particular piece of roadway in there. So the transmittal, what I'm asking is, will the transmittal change any of that language where they don't have to put that?
I'm with you. I think the transmittal for today is just related to the CIE policy. And that interconnects with the traffic study, which they've done, which our staff has reviewed, and is comfortable with the conclusions therein, based on the additional points of connection between these properties that weren't there in 2024, when the Agricola project was approved.
So that is in this particular document that the county now has?
In the existing Agricola Development Agreement, yes, that policy that you saw up on there is in that development agreement. Nothing tonight, nothing with the transmittal is gonna change that
Changes any
development
of it.
agreement. Nothing changes any of that. When it comes back in September, assuming there's no comments from the state, anything that is agreed to be changed in the development agreement is gonna be voted on by the board.
And the
So
requ-
there's
The
nothing-
BCC, not us.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
through the chair, to Commissioner Anzalone, and the requirement to build that road through Governor's Park, through Agricola over to 17 is written into the amended and restated development agreement draft.
That's what I want to
Correct.
make sure of, so that nothing changes once that transmittal comes back.
Yes, sir. Yes, and this is Kevin Kramer. Okay.
And as of right now, there's nothing binding them to create any of those roads in the existing development agreement.
Mr. Chair. I just, first I want to thank you, Ralph, for bringing that up. That was one of my concerns. The idea that we're eliminating a policy that more or less is in place to protect the county. Not more or less, that is in place to protect the county. That's my concern, and I think Ray Mr. Spofford hit the nail on the head. The reason it's being removed is because you can't get the project financed because it puts the bondholders at risk. All of a sudden, you're 1251 in, and you do a traffic study, and now you have to make some additional improvements. And so that's my concern. I get the idea of the additional roads, and there's no doubt they may have some benefit to it. But just as a steward of this position and, trying to represent the county's interest and the citizens' interest, I am concerned that it's being removed, that policy is being eliminated. And if everybody's so confident that it's not going to create a problem, then why not leave it in there? That was kind of your point originally. So if someone can address that.
Yeah, if I can. Kevin Kramer with BTI Partners, the applicant. And I'm going to ask a question of all the legal minds. I don't know if this is legally possible, but can this approval be conditioned on that the roads that we're showing in this map are included in the development agreement? I mean, this approval is conditioned that these roads shown get included in the development agreement. At the next hearings, that if they don't, and if they're not included in the development agreement, then this approval, is not valid then, to transmit. Some way of, we have every intention of putting in the roads. It will be in the development agreement. I don't know how we do that early without like a condition. Typically you would do a condition. It'd be a condition of approval that the roads that are included in the traffic study that have satisfied the removal of this condition, that those improvements, must be included in the development agreement. And that this condition is only valid if if they're included in those development agreements.
So what you'll also be bringing forward are the PUD for Agricola and the PUD for Governor's Park, which will show the roads that are being planned to be put in. And that will be coming in and going along with this policy deletion once it's come back. The PUD, the development order, the other PUD, the development agreement, and this policy will all be going to the board in September. Except for the development agreement and this policy, you will be seeing the PUD coming to you, which will show the Governor's Park roads, the Agricola roads. That will all be coming back to you in
Us or
September.
BCC?
No, that will be coming to you in September because that is amending the PUD.
So I just want to ask a question. Isn't it already made part of the updated development agreement through Exhibit C, which is the site plan? So it's already technically part of the development agreement. Has the development agreement been ratified or made, is it contractually in place or executed, or is it a conceptual right now?
Well, there's a draft, so we filed a separate application to amend the development agreement. So that's one of there are 3 pending applications for this particular property. One is this text policy that has, because of the procedure under Florida law, we have to do a comprehensive plan amendment transmittal, so your board and the county commission, state review, and then back for final adoption. That's what Florida law requires for comp plan amendments. It does not require this many hearings for a development agreement modification or a PUD modification. So to your point, the development agreement draft right now, the amended and restated development agreement has in it the requirement to build this road. And it has phasing in that development agreement that matches the PUD, and it has a timeline and a number of units for having to finish the road all the way through to US 17. So that is the contract we're talking about that will be entered into with Clay County and the developer that require the construction of this road based on the traffic study that has been submitted to satisfy this requirement now. I mean, technically, or legally, actually, if the Agricola property were already under development and there were 1,250 units on the ground right now, we would submit the same traffic study, and that would check the box in this comp plan element, text policy. All we're doing is checking the box now before the 1,250 units are there.
Right.
And taking 1 million square feet off the table.
But you're adding an additional roadway in order to alleviate the pressure, so that it's not all dumping out on 17 at one location, but you're spreading the load. I get all that, and that's great. Quite frankly, that's what we want. We want to diversify the load across the entire system. And as I understand it, this has to be removed in order to get the bonding? Is this a precursor to that?
Yes, because I mean,
Okay.
and I'm not the bonding agent, but I mean,
I understand.
well, go ahead, Kevin.
I mean, yes, the bonds are sold over all the units. So yes, you could not sell enough bonds for construction of the road on 1,250 units. You know, it takes the 4,000 units and, you know, the full approval of development. You've got to show certainty of the ability to build those 4,000 units.
I get the math
Yeah,
behind that. I understand all of that.
But I mean, if there is a way to craft into this approval, you know, the commitment that these roads have to be included in a development agreement, you know, for this to be valid, I'm all for it if it can legally be done.
Well, and so let me read to you what the draft development agreement says right now. So for access, it says, Bellamy, which is the property owner, its successors and assigns shall design, permit, and complete construction of a 2-lane collector road between US 17 and the northern boundary of the property adjacent to the Governor's Park Development of Regional Impact in the location depicted on the site plan Exhibit C. And that's defined as the Central Spine Road, no later than the county's issuance of a building permit for the 2251st residential unit in the development. The Central Spine Road will be constructed pursuant to applicable code standards. Within 120 days following the county's approval of this agreement, the county will amend the Clay County Mobility Fee Ordinance, and that's a different issue that we're working through with the staff, to include the Central Spine Road as a regionally significant road. So therefore, this is the guarantee to you that that road is going to be built, and it's got to be bonded with the county.
So the last question I have, and then I'll turn it over to the rest of the commissioners. Beth, you're comfortable that this meets all the requirements of the study that's required currently? Okay, all right, thank you.
Mr. Garrison?
I just still uncomfortable with the idea of giving up, y'all have to do another traffic study at some point. I don't care if the threshold has changed from 1250 to another number, but I get it. I understand that you can't get the financing, so then the project doesn't move forward. I'm not uncomfortable with the idea you're gonna build the roads or not. You would build the roads. It's to everybody's benefit to build the roads. My only concern is that the volume of traffic generated by the development exceeds what you're planning for. I guess is my concern. And I don't know that there's any way to mitigate that. Look back to the staff. They've recommended approval of it. I assume we're going to get another discussion about this at some point before it moves forward to the BCC for final approval. And am I over worrying about this? Am I worried
Not
too
gonna get
much? I
another
mean, this
chance.
policy was generated for a reason. Nobody put it in there just to create another policy. It's not the study, it's just the idea that we've seen it over and over and over. I'm in the industry, I understand it. Here, we think we're gonna create this many whatever trips. We put the development in place, oh, they went better than we thought. We got more traffic than we thought. We have more problems than we thought. And rather than having an opportunity to, okay, we're a third of the way through this, let's see what's really happening. Now we're doing it here in this theoretical world that it's all gonna be perfect. And that's my concern. Again, we have a policy that was in place to provide protection to the county. And now we're going to eliminate that policy based on the idea we're gonna put these other roads in and everything's gonna be peaches and cream. That's all. I mean, it's no more complicated than that. And it was, why? Because we can't get financing. Okay, I kind of understand that.
If I may, give you a little background on why the policy got into the comp plan in the first place. I should have explained this a little bit better. So rightfully so, staff was concerned that there was no interconnectivity directly to the Clay Dairy Parkway from Agricola. The vast majority of the Agricola traffic was going out on US 17. And so the applicant had initially submitted a traffic study that showed a connection that way. The staff asked them to do another one that showed it all going out to 17. Well, at the time it went for transmittal to the state for review, it showed that the Agricola project caused a failure, LOS failure, on US 17 north of the First Coast Expressway.
Okay.
So we received a comment back from the state to address that. That's how the policy got put into the comp plan. And so the policy itself today doesn't say we need to wait until the 1,251st dwelling unit to do a study. It said just do one, identify any failures, and put in the access modifications or other mitigative measures. So we've done the study, there's no failures because of the revised access modification and the reduction in non-residential development. And so we don't want to be having to monitor traffic into the future when the traffic study shows today. It's not common to do that these days, to monitor traffic into the future. Now, GRIs used to do that, but it's only for tracking the trips and the conditions in the development order.
But the policy were to remain, I'm just asking a question, hypothetical. If the policy were to remain, you would wait until near 1250 before you do a traffic study, or you would do one at the beginning anyway? And you would try to.
We'd want to do one and get rid of that traffic condition because essentially we can't get the bonding to.
Okay, well, that's a better explanation. So the idea that, so you've, a traffic failure was identified and you have redesigned the development in order to move, what sounds like trying to bring the traffic south of that failure.
Right. So the finding of the traffic study is a lot of traffic is no longer going to go use 17. It's going to go directly to the Clay Dairy Parkway and either continue north to 16 or get on the First Coast Expressway. So there's a reduction in the reason we have the policy in the comp plan in the first place, the reduction in that impact. And so we've also planned the infrastructure internally to accommodate full build out of Agricola and Governor's Park.
The traffic study that's been done, is it available? Where is it at?
It's part of the application.
Part of
It's
the
in your-
application?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's been reviewed by staff, I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
I just want just to clarify too, we want to make sure what Ray just said is important, and I wasn't aware of the history, so thank you for the history lesson, Ray. But the idea, we are checking the box, the requirement in the comprehensive plan text policy. And we are doing what the county commission wanted 2 years ago when they approved Agricola. So really, that's the material. I mean, we've satisfied the requirement and what the county commission asked for 2 years ago, which is interconnectivity through Governor's Park up to the First Coast Expressway, keeping the traffic off US 17, providing a reliever.
If I may, everything I'm hearing here, my head kind of hurts, but if they don't build that road, doesn't that void the traffic study and puts everything back to square one? I mean, the whole point of the traffic study was find out where the LOS is and find out how can we relieve this, and the only way they can do that is to move another entrance further down with this road, but if they don't do that, then they've regenerated the problem they came up to with to begin with.
I don't think that's an option, not building the road.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's a gotta do type
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
It's not
I
an
get it.
option.
I mean, the idea they're gonna build this road to move it, the failure, or to eliminate the failure, therefore they don't need the policy. The policy's blocking financing.
Okay, I can't
I
address
guess the only last question then, since we keep coming back to the financing, when would those bonds be issued?
Well, and Mr. Kramer was making the point out to me as a sidebar that really the financing isn't the issue. But I don't know when the bonds are going to be issued myself. I just want to point out that from a legal perspective, Florida statutes requires mitigation for transportation impacts from a project. And that's what we're trying to achieve here.
And you said one other thing, and this is kind of something that was in my head. If we've checked the box,
Yes,
why do we need to remove the box?
because, I mean, the box required the traffic study. You now have the traffic study
Right.
in your agenda package.
So that's complete. I mean, on my checklist, that's done.
Because
Right.
the bonding agents have their own
Right.
checklist, and this is
Okay.
gonna be on their checklist.
Right.
and if it's there, they won't find
Okay.
it. I understand.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, and, I mean, getting the bonds, I mean, that's not the problem. It's a problem, but it's not like the problem that we're, why we're coming before you. I mean, really, it's as simple as the previous comp plan was approved without the connection, dumped all the traffic on US 17, and at 1,250 units, it broke. Like, that was the limit of units that could go out to US 17 without it breaking. So there was a stop there until somebody came back to you with a solution that didn't put the traffic on US 17. And it required a traffic study proving it. That's what we've done. We're required to come back here to you to show you a solution beyond 1,250, and that's what we're doing. We've done the study, we're done with the study, so we're bringing it to you. I mean, really, that's the result of the timing. Thanks.
Any other questions of the applicant?
No, I just like to make a comment, though. As long as Ralph and I have been doing this, and we've been doing it a long time, we've seen over the years changes being made, and then developers not doing the things that they say they're going to do. So if we ask a lot of questions and we're looking for a lot of assurances, it's for that reason.
Oh, absolutely, and we respect that, and thank you for the brain power.
Any other questions?
Done.
Okay, I'm gonna open the public hearing. I don't have any cards on this agenda item. Does anybody wish to speak to this? Yes, ma'am, come forward.
My name is Karen Coon. I live at 1006 Lino Road. We actually sat with Mr. Alacola, all right, when his development started. And the only reason why he came and sat with us was because they set out mailers to get advice from the community. But they failed to send out the mailers to everybody who lived on Lino Road, which was going to be the highest impact originally of their development. But then he came and sat down with us and went over his plan. And he said, once this was submitted to the state, nothing could be changed unless the state said this is what had to be done. Well, during this time, the property has been sold. We have new land managers. What have the land managers done for us? Nothing. Mr. Alacola has kept a fire lane cut between our property and his property. It stayed clear. It was plowed every year with no promise that the development was going to be. These land managers, what we've seen, my husband and his sister live right across the street on 15A. All right. They had to put up with dust storms this summer or this spring when it was so dry. Highway 17 was closed down because of all the dust that was provided for this. My husband went to Valancourt, who was the developer. He called them 3 times. And then if you ever see my husband, he is a very imposing figure. He weighs about 276 pounds and is 6'2". He is also now 65 years old. He has managed his sister's property and our property at this age, and he's at the point to where he can no longer manage and keep up someone else's property. Now we're saying that we're going to do away with a requirement that is written in. It's a policy change. We're just going to do away with it. Well, I hate to tell y'all this. If it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then it probably is a duck. I don't understand how making 3 outlets onto Highway 17 reduces the traffic. All right? I've lived in Clay County all my life. I was born in 1961. There was no backup on Blanding Boulevard. We're creating Blanding Boulevard on Highway 17. I hope you're going to be happy with it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Noel Saubers, been up here already. I just
What's your
find
name and address?
Noel Saubers, 417 River Birch Lane,
Thank you.
Fleming Island. I just find it hard to come up here and say something after these 4 people have talked because they know all of it and they're doing all of this for our good. But the things I'd like to know is in the studies that Mr. Puckhaber, did I say it correctly? Are all these road studies in that report that you guys let us have availability to last week? Because I'd like to know what really goes into it. Are they taking into account all the new houses that are being built at Cathedral Oak? Are they taking into that study the accounts of all the houses that are being built at the end of Cathedral Oak in 218? Are they taking into account all the houses that have been in all along Sand Ridge and Russell Road? And there seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on how many people are going to use the First Coast Highway. But they always call it an expressway. It is a toll road. I see almost no traffic on it a lot of the times. It's an expensive toll road. If people are going to be doing day-to-day activities, they're not getting on the toll road to go up to Walmart. They're going to be using all these same roads. So how much of their study, is their study only impacting 1,251 units? Or is it also a study in conjunction with all these other places? Because all those houses on Cathedral Oak haven't been built yet, but they're building them. All those houses at the end of 218 at Cathedral Oak are all being built, and they're still being built. So how is their road study really taken into effect? Is it only 1,251 houses? Because I can guarantee you, I could make anything look good. I can know statistics enough. I can throw all sorts of cars on the First Coast Highway and make stuff vanish. Again, there's only 2 roads, non-toll, north and south. And that young lady back there mentioned it. We've already turned 17 into almost a virtual Blanding today. And it's gonna get worse.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Two questions first. Did you turn in a card?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you've taken the oath. All right.
Yes. Monica Ross, 1002 Leno Road. I came to a lot of the meetings that were about the Agricola and some of our concerns as the residents that are butting up to this new property or the change of the property. I guess what I'm a little inquisitive of, I just don't quite understand where, okay, there's going to be changes to the plan, but we haven't seen the plan yet, but we're talking about the roads to the plan that we don't know what the changes are yet. So I would like to be able to actually have you guys look at that whole plan as a whole and make that decision on the roads and the whole plan, because it kind of sounds like there were some modifications in the road based on 1250, that by changing how the traffic will be flowing, that it will be able to increase the number of housing or complexes in the area. So I think that is the aspect of what is the whole plan and how is the roads going to be affecting that plan. I mean, we all are living out here in the country because we like the country, we like the green spaces, and I would like to hope that that's what we're trying to do by maintaining what Clay County is and what we love. Thank you.
I had somebody over here. Yes, ma'am.
I've never done this before. My name is Rihanna Lloyd. I have a stutter, so if I start, that's how come. I have a question. With the new roads that they're talking about building through, are they building a road through Bellamy, like road? Are they going to build like on the road? Is that what?
Let me clarify. Are you asking, are they going to build Bellamy Road out to 17?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure, and then I was going to do my little thing, and I will try really hard not to stutter. Says, I moved to Bellamy Road in 2005 and has been my childhood home. A home now my 3 girls love. Bellamy Road is an officially registered archaeological and historic route and is on the Florida Master State file. I am here respectfully to ask that you protect the historic integrity of Bellamy Road by denying the proposed entrance through this historic roadway. Bellamy Road is not simply another street that can be altered or replaced. It is one of the oldest historic routes in our region, representing an important part of Green Cove Springs and Clay County's heritage. It connects us to the people who traveled this corridor generations before us and serves as a living reminder of our community's history. Just as significant as the magnificent live oak trees that line Bellamy Road, many of them have stood for well over a century. Sorry, we can always build another entrance to a subdivision, but we cannot replace over 100 years of history. I understand our city is growing, and I support responsible development. However, responsible growth also means recognizing when something is valuable to sacrifice. A subdivision can be designed with an alternative entrance. Bellamy Road cannot be rebuilt once its historic character has been switched. It's just, you know, it's a special place, and since the development of the Agricola, there's been bears, panthers, more snakes on my property alone, along with my family. We have a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 6-year-old who love that land. So please, just think about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Did a good job. Is there, yep. Anybody else? Okay. I got one over here first. Hold your place.
Hi, I'm Teresa Weeks. I have lived on Bellamy Road since 1990. I have 15 acres along Bellamy Road. So my question is, for people that have livestock, horses, dogs, cows, how is the road development going to affect how we get home and our pets and our animals?
Okay. I'm not going to answer you, but when we get the applicant back up here, we'll see if he can address that. Yes, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. Go ahead, sir.
I just want to clarify, I think.
Do you have a card?
No, I don't, but I will fill one out. But I think we're having we want to have an understanding that it's not Old Bellamy Road, this is Bellamy Road past, there's like a, we're just wanting to clarify which road it is.
I understand.
I don't think it is the road that we live on, so that's why I just want to make sure that we're talking about the right thing.
Bellamy South. Bellamy South.
Okay, yeah, we're on, I think what we saw on the map was Old Bellamy Road, what we all live on. But I think what the road, I saw it on the map, but the proposed road is a little bit more south of us. But I think, that's what everyone wants to be clarified on.
We'll see if we can get the applicant to address that.
All right, thank you.
Bellamy Road, just a quick overview. The original Bellamy Road was the first federally funded highway in the state of Florida. It was built in 1826. When this Agricola came up here years ago, I did a little research on that old road out there, and it's still there and it's still being used, so. Okay, was there somebody else that would like to? I don't see any hands going up, so I'm going to close the public comment period. I'll bring it back for the applicant.
So,
Yes, I'm gonna,
Miss-
Mr. Spofford will answer
Miss-
your question first.
Mr. Chair, for the applicant responds, I do want to point out, and I'm sure this is what they're going to talk about, that there were commitments to historic Bellamy Road in the Agricola development agreement. And I'm looking at it here in the draft, and they haven't changed anything except the fact that the property owner name has changed. So, you want to, basically, it just says that they know that the historic road runs through there, and what Agricola had in mind, which hopefully these folks will do as well, according to this, is anywhere they can identify where that road was through the Agricola property there, you're gonna put a multi-use path on it, a pedestrian path, or a street. So it won't be paved, it won't be covered by houses. So anyways, go ahead.
That's correct, and that's not changing in the development agreement. And just to clarify, the access, the northernmost access from Agricola out to US 17 is what's called Bellamy Road South. It's not in the location of the historic Bellamy Road. It doesn't go through that neighborhood. If you're familiar on US 17 South, there's a plant nursery. You kind of go down through the dip and you start coming up again, and that's the Bellamy Road South. That's the current approved access, and that's not changing. So there'd be no road through the historic Bellamy Road. Yes, on Leno Road, we have, I believe in the development agreement, there's also a buffer required from the residents on Leno Road. We'd be happy to talk to the residents also about any land management issues. You're agreeable? And, yeah, that's not a problem. So also, there's a comment about the, what the traffic study took into account. It did take into account background traffic, which is the traffic from all the other projects that are approved. And so that's part of it. And if you want more detail, our traffic engineer, Thomas Hatcher, is here to explain probably in more detail. Yes, and that study was included in the application package, which is in the public records on the county's website.
Okay, questions for the applicant? Okay, under Articles of Full Disclosure, I was called by Mr. Stoffer, but I did not get a chance to call him back, so I did not talk with him. So I'll put that on the record. With that, any discussion? Anyone make a motion?
I need to disclose, I received a phone call from Rogers Towers. Ellen, I believe it was you. And we did not get a chance to talk on the phone. I didn't have a chance to return the phone call, but I did want to acknowledge, thank you for the call.
And Mr. Chair, it's not on the website, I don't think yet, but we did receive, all of us, this letter from the attorney. So just kind of pointing out what their position was.
All right, are we ready for a recommendation?
We are.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move staff's recommendation to transmit comp 26-0010.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded to move staff's recommendation. Any discussion?
If you don't mind, I did find the traffic study. Thank you. Of course, it would be in the application. I just want to read a couple things from here that do provide some relief about this issue. in the conclusions on page 11, 2 segments of US 17 within the city of Green Cove Springs, specifically State Road 16 to St. Augustine Highway and from Governor Street to State Road 16 are projected to operate over capacity. However, these segments exceed capacity under background conditions without project traffic. With the addition of the proposed internal roadway connections to the Governor's Park DRI, along with direct access to the First Coast Expressway and the Green Cove Springs bypass, the distribution of project traffic changes substantially. A greater share of the trips is reassigned to the expressway system and parallel facilities, reducing reliance on US 17 through the city. So that's, I accept that from beginning. I understand that. I just would prefer, I just hate the idea of giving up some requirement that any developer be required to, as the project moves forward, a large development, 4,000 homes, be required to reevaluate the results of the development. That's all. That's my hesitancy. But I, again, understand traffic studies, it's right here. And so anyway, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and it's been seconded. Call for vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, we have one dissenting. All right.
Could I take a moment, Mr. Chair? I wanted to recognize Mrs. Lloyd. I grew up with a stutter, so I know how difficult it is. And to get up here publicly and to talk is very difficult. So great job. You did a great job. Thank you.
Amen.
I also applaud you because it takes a lot of guts to do that. I appreciate it.
It is nerve-wracking to get up here if you're not used to it. We understand that.
Okay, Ms. Carson?
All right, this item is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. Comprehensive Plan 26-9 is the item number. This will be heard before the Board of County Commissioners on July 28th. I'll do a brief presentation, and again, the applicants will get up and give you a more detailed description. Again, this is Governor's Park Property Holdings, and Clay Dairy Property Holdings are the applicants. The agents, you've met most of them already so far. Ellen Avery Smith and Ray Spofford and Kesey Dender. The location is State Route 16 and Springbank Road. The planning district is the Springs District. This is Commissioner Burke's District 5. There are 7 full parcels involved and 3 partial parcels involved in this action. And the request is to change the future land use designation of approximately 1,265 acres from agriculture and commercial to planned community to be incorporated into the Governor's Park DRI. The map on the left, you can see the location of the property. It is located, the hatched portion is what we were talking about, the 1265, and it is located north of the Governor's Park project. And this is the notification map. And these are the people that were notified about this action. These were the signs that were posted on the property. Map on the left is the site location map, and then the map on the right is the aerial. And you see the land is largely agriculture, silvicultural property, and undeveloped. The existing land use on the left, you see up in the upper left corner, there's a tiny piece of commercial, and the rest is agriculture. And the proposed land use would be to go to PC, planned community, just like agriculture, Governor's Park. So the proposed development, and this was included in the application information for the expanded Governor's Park DRI, shows that the approved DRI for Governor's Park had 4,500 single-family dwelling units, and multifamily was 2,500 dwelling units, so that's 6,000. And so they're doing a little bit of a shift to have 5,500 single-family and 1,500 multifamily, just a little shift in that. The commercial was approved for $840,000. The proposed would be $2 million. Commercial office was 400,000 and it's dropping a little bit to 350. The hotel, they're dropping that from the 400 rooms down to 200 rooms. The light industrial was 1 million and they're removing that entirely. And the golf course is remaining. So when you look at the uses, it's balancing out somewhat, but the idea is that it would expand from Governor's Park over to this property. This is not adding new entitlements for the 1,200 acres other than stretching the Governor's Park entitlements onto the property. There are companion applications that you'll be seeing in September, which is the development order. 26-1 is that application, and that's the amendment to the development order for Governor's Park to incorporate the subject parcels that we're talking about right now. There will also be a PUD 26-9, which is the amendment to the Governor's Park PUD to include this land and show the actual layout of what the development will be. With that, staff recommends, based on the review of the criteria, that has been met for the comprehensive plan amendment, and staff recommends transmittal of Comp 26-9, and the applicant will give you further explanation.
Any questions of staff? Okay, applicant.
Hello again. Ellen Avery Smith, Rogers Towers, 100 Whetstone Place. And I will introduce you to the same team you met a few minutes ago for Agricola. Ray Spofford, who is a planner with England, Timms and Miller, will give some of this presentation as well. Casey Dendor is here, as is Thomas Hatcher. And then you met Kevin Kramer from BTI, who is the representative of the owners of Governor's Park and what we call G-Bar, because this property, the 1,265 acres, was called G-Bar Ranch and G-Bar Ranch West by the Gustafson family that operated a dairy on this property for decades. And so that is that is the property that we're seeking to add. Sorry, going the wrong way. Add to the boundaries of the Governor's Park DRI and PUD. As Ms. Carson said, we're spreading the development rights. So no new residential units, reducing light industrial, but increasing commercial primarily around that First Coast Expressway and Clay Dairy Parkway location, because that is going to bring you some medical and medical office and other uses for the southern part of Clay County. Today is just the comprehensive plan amendment. Again, this is a transmittal hearing. We will come back for adoption back in September of 2026. This is a companion to a DRI modification. I believe you have a red line showing all the revisions to the DRI development order that are proposed in your application package. There is also a PUD modification application that is in a red line form showing you all the changes, primarily to incorporate this 1,265 acres into the boundaries of Governor's Park. And so, again, spreading development rights and then increasing commercial uses and changing the phasing. And with that, our expert planner will give you this scenario.
Thank you, Ellen. I'll quickly go through some slides. Beth did a good job covering the essential points. So this map on the left is kind of the existing condition. It shows Agricola and Governor's Park approved. G-Bar Ranch is between Governor's Park and State Road 16. And I just want to cover for a minute the historic use of the G-Bar Ranch obviously has been for agricultural. It's been pasture land, cropland, as well as timberland. Certainly not a pristine piece of property. With or without this approval for the amendment, the Clay Dairy Parkway is going to go through the middle of the site. There's already utilities running from Peters Creek wastewater plant to the north by Peters Creek Industrial Park through the site down to Governor's Park. There's also a new water treatment plant in Governor's Park, kind of in the southwest. So this land is likely to be developed at some point in time. It's pretty much inevitable. The yellow dash line is the urban service area. That is where the county's comprehensive plan encourages new growth to locate where these urban facilities and services are available. And I think that's certainly the case here. So on the proposed side, you see Governor's Park property outlined, or the G-Bar Ranch property outlined, and then the interconnectivity with Governor's Park and Agricola to the south. Beth covered this before. The adopted is on the left, proposed on the right. By putting the planned community on G-Bar Ranch, it's going to be part of the DRI, which means it's going to be part of the development order. That'll serve as the required development agreement for the planned community designation, which means it's subject to all the development order conditions in the Governor's Park DRI, including enhanced buffers on Governor's Creek, going from 25 feet to an average of 100 feet instead. Just want to zoom in here a little bit to show you some of the improvements going on. I covered this before. This just shows the bypass and the interchange ramps, and I won't cover this too much more. I covered it in the last presentation. But obviously the bypass is expected to be completed in 2027, ramps in 28, and then the Medallion Boulevard south to Agricola in 2027 or 28. Map on the left shows the existing entitlement. Again, there's going to be no increase in residential units with the addition of the G-Bar Ranch land. The non-residential increases slightly by about 100,000 square feet and a little less hotel rooms and a golf course. The mix of residential does change. There's going to be 1,000 more single family and 1,000 less multifamily, which kind of spreads out the land area a little bit more, requires more land area to accommodate single family. The other things I want to point out on the map on the left, the existing approval, we show 2 elementary school sites on the Clayderry Parkway and a high school site in the northwest corner. And then in the southeast corner, there's a park. And the purple was intended to be the industrial. However, the Peters Creek Industrial Park immediately to the north is approved for 5.5 million square feet of industrial use. And I understand that there was recently a rezoning submitted for that to kind of retool that development program. On the right, essentially the industrial is being replaced with a 100-acre community park to provide more of a regional benefit. And again, the areas that are shown in more of the red color are what are expected to be primarily non-residential and a mix of multifamily potentially. The other key thing here is we've met with the school district staff. We've moved one of the elementary school sites south off of the Clayderry Parkway into more of a residential neighborhood, but it's still on a collector road, Medallion Boulevard. And we've also moved the high school site further north. It's more centrally located to the population that it's expected to serve. Ellen, do you want any conclusion remarks?
Yes, and we want to thank Ms. Carson for her excellent staff report. She does a thorough analysis regarding urban sprawl and the conclusion that the addition or the comp plan change for the G-Bar Ranch property does not constitute urban sprawl under the law. And then, of course, she also concludes that, recommends approval of the comp plan amendment, or transmittal. So with that being said, we're here to answer whatever questions you may have and appreciate your time.
Questions for the applicant?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. First of all, before I ask you, Beth, have we never looked at this parcel before? It seems years ago we did.
Ray would probably remember what year you brought it forward, I think.
In 2022, the Park Group had an option on it. And Park Group at that time owned Governor's Park.
Right.
And they came forward with an amendment. It was a combination of land uses. It wasn't being included in the DRI.
Right.
But they're also adding 3,000 or 4,000 units.
Right.
And an additional non-residential. So it went to the county commission. There were a lot of concerns about school impact and about traffic impacts, and it was ultimately withdrawn.
Okay, that's all.
So,
I
then,
knew
yeah.
we had talked about this parcel. That helps. Thank
Right.
you. So, direct question about this request is not so much the use, it's the table in here of the uses. For example, we're constantly talking about affordability, and my fellow commissioners have told me many times that affordability is density and multifamily. And in your presentation, what I heard was less density and less multifamily. So in my mind, that's less affordable. So that's an issue that I'm thinking about. The other one is really a couple of other things that may not be as important, but I know about the Peters Creek Business Park, but removing the light industrial, if you've got all this extra land, this is the place, and industrial likes to cluster. I really don't understand why we want to remove that light industrial. It's so hard to get it put in the first place, because as soon as you try to, and we've seen it many times, all the neighbors show up and say, I don't want that next to me. So if you get it in the plan, you leave it in the plan, it's there. Later on, which is what typically happens, you come back and tell us we can't sell the industrial and we want to convert it to houses or something. That happens a lot. And then we find out later on there might have been a use for it if you could have just held on a little while. The other thing is the hotel. The county is desperately trying to increase the usage of the county fairgrounds, which are right next to this. It would seem like having the entitlement to put more hotel rooms on this would be a good thing for the county, because if they do what they want to do with the fairgrounds, I mean, the fair is growing every year. There's a lot of other events. Hotel rooms are one of the things they're hurting for.
Right.
The golf course you can get rid of. I don't care about the golf course. It's just a lot of chemicals on the ground. But I really am concerned about the multifamily issue, more around the affordability part of it, and the fact that we're going to get rid of the industrial altogether, and that we're going to reduce the hotel opportunities that are here. Those are my thoughts on it.
Good points.
I'm gonna, can I piggyback on yours, Commissioner Puckhaber? Is that okay, Mr. Chair? So first off, I love the fact that you are focused on affordability. Like, I love that. I think you're absolutely correct. You're spot on. So I think maybe the problem that the applicants faced and the market has faced is that multifamily, specifically townhome product, and apartments for that matter, there's not a demand for townhomes at all right now. They've completely dried up, and apartments can't be financed because the interest rates are so high. And so single family homes, and I understand why the applicant, I believe, if this is their motivation to move to single, is because that's what the market is demanding right now. Now, to your point of affordability, lot size is the more units you can put on the acre. Right now, it's 3.5 units per acre is kind of standard. The more density you can put on it means that you can drive the prices down, and that's where you find your density and your value. And I don't mean to be speaking for the applicant. I just know firsthand the townhome market's dead and the apartment market is unfunded right now. So that's most likely why the applicant's making the shift. But I love that you're focused on affordability. I love that.
I'm always focused
I
on
know you are.
affordability, but and everything you say, Ms. Ray, I think is correct. I have no reason to dispute it. But this is a long horizon project. Yes, maybe there's no demand for for multifamily right now, but a lot of this won't get built out for a very long time. The dynamics will change completely. I just don't know why we even have this table in here, I guess, is my thing. This should just be a land use.
We could explain this to you,
Okay.
because like we said, there are two companion applications, and one is the DRI development order, and you've got this big red line that's in your agenda package. And if you look at it, a couple of things. There has been a significant change in the market, and there is very significant medical interest in this. So, in the town center area that will be along the First Coast Expressway, on Clay Dairy Parkway, there's a huge interest for a medical campus as well as other commercial. When you go to Exhibit 2, which is a land use exchange table, you will see that light industrial is not removed. And there is the ability to convert between single family and multifamily or from any other use to light industrial. So we have not eliminated light industrial altogether. We're just putting it, I'll call it, in our back pockets in case we need it in the future. And I'll let Kevin explain his marketing reason.
Thank you. Kevin Kramer, BTI Partners, the applicant. We're really responding to like real-time market. I'll tell you, we were somewhat shocked by just the commercial demand. And you know, normally commercial development comes, you know, 5 to 10 years after the homes are built. They want to see the rooftops because those are the folks that will go shopping in the commercial. We have had commercial buyers come in that want to buy every bit of commercial that we have right now to go develop it right now because of the undersupply in this part of the county for commercial. So,
You're saying in this area of the county?
This area of the county is undersupplied by commercial. You
We
know,
got a lot of empty commercial in other parts.
Yeah, but this part of the county, there's just a huge demand for commercial. And really, there's been no demand for industrial, mostly because the Peters Creek Industrial Park is 8 or 9 million square feet of industrial. I mean, there's plenty of industrial there. And I know all of that's not spoken for. You know, they've got some of that under contract, certainly not all of it, and that will build out into the future. So really, it's a very, you know, like just pleasant surprise at the immediate demand for commercial. You know, so adjusting to it and, you know, just, you know, really good end users. Let me just say, you know, folks that you'd really want in there. And like Ellen said, also medical. You know, working on a contract right now for medical to come in. So it's been a nice surprise.
What's the horizon you think for all this build out?
I mean,
it's
definitely market
yeah
driven, but you know, so I'm going to speak non-residential again. We're writing a contract right now for medical. We're writing a contract right now for all of this commercial. So there's folks that want that all right now. The residential, you know, that builds out over time. We have about a year and a half ago, we sold 2 parcels. David Weekly Homes and Richmond American are doing 400 homes. They've just completed their subdivision work and have started their models. So then we've got, you know, we've got good demand for even with the market like it is for, you know, additional residential. You know, usually I would say it will come at a pace of, you know, about, let's say about 500 lots a year is what builders will come to us wanting to buy. And then they build that out. And sometimes they'll sub-phase that, you know, to adjust to the market, to either build quicker or slower, depending on what the market is. So, you know, it's going to go, it's quite a bit into the future, but probably not as far as you think, you know, not 50 years, you know, but not 10 years.
So I may not see it. So I just want to clarify something you said. So you're looking to go to 2 million square feet of commercial retail, which I assume would include the healthcare and that kind of thing. I don't know if that's part of your office number, but are you saying you've already basically got commitments for 2 million square feet of space in there?
We've got commitments from a commercial mixed-use developer, like somebody who, so it's not, so what it won't be is, you know, we sell 5 acres here, 10 acres, and kind of piece it together that you end up at the end. Frankly, like when you sell that way, you end up at the end and you look at it and go, wow, that wasn't well thought out. You know, he sold pieces at a time. This is a commercial developer, mixed-use developer who will develop it out kind of comprehensively. And we're writing a contract with a commercial buyer to buy all of our land for commercial and all of our commercial square footage for him then to kind of plan it out and sell. But I'll tell you, he's not going to close without, you know, your big, all your big names, you know, giving him commitments that they're ready to come in. Is that?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
What's running through my head right now is if you do that and they're strictly a commercial developer, I don't see any mixture of housing in with the commercial.
Well, so when I say commercial, I mean, this is like right around the interchange.
Okay.
This is right on Clay Dairy Parkway, which is a 4 and a 6 lane road, and the interchange. I mean, it's really, it's consolidated in that area. Now, we've got it spread out to where when you have a development this size, you're going to have your, you know, Publix and a CVS, several of those spread out, you know, throughout the neighborhoods. But the bulk of this, you know, commercial use is consolidated around the interchange.
So that would be akin to what you'd see along East-West Parkway here.
Are you familiar?
You're familiar with that?
East-West Parkway.
Eagle Harbor, and there's this whole road just for commercial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on the busy roads.
Right.
You know, the road that was built for that. And yeah, in commercial, you know, folks come home from work, they like to drive by the commercial on their way home, they stop the shop, they go home.
Okay. So I think I'm mostly done, but since I have this gentleman at the podium, I do want to just make a comment. Has nothing to do with this. Since you've got a lot more land, or sounds like you're going to have a lot more land in this opportunity to work with, kind of opposite the smaller lots. But in this county, we do allow auxiliary dwelling units. And that's an affordability issue to me, because you can put those in the back garage. We used to call them garage apartments, now we call them ADUs. But, and those are places that would be affordability. There'd be some affordability there. And if they go in as part of the original design, you don't get the neighbors screaming, I don't want renters living in my backyard. So just a comment on that.
Yeah, and I believe the Agricola PUD allows that, correct? Yeah, it allows the.
Well, you got a lot of opportunity, so that's all I was saying.
Yeah.
That's all. Thank you.
I got one question. You got an 18-hole golf course here. Where are you getting the water?
You know, we didn't remove, the 18-hole golf course is in the Governor's Park PUD and DRI. We're just not removing it. We've not, you know, I don't have plans to put the golf course in or have solved any of the problems needed for that. We're just not removing it.
Okay, but if you does stay and you do build it, where are you getting the water?
I haven't even thought of that because
Well,
I
I
haven't.
would ask that you do think about it, because most golf courses, you're looking at an 18-inch pipe to the aquifer, and that's not gonna work. We've done some other things around gray water and things like that, so I don't know what your capability is. I don't know where your sewage is going to and whether that plant has that capability, but that might be an option.
Yeah, they do. So we're all part of the working with CCUA as you would expect. We've
There's
got
a
the
site
plants
for
on the property.
CCUA in Governor's Park, isn't there?
There is.
And I'm sure
Yeah.
it's a new one. They'll have reuse water coming out of there.
And there'll be one in Agricola.
Is it, wait,
Another.
is
yeah,
there one in Governor's Park?
There is.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's been sitting waiting for this project, I think.
It actually
I'm
has.
not sure it's
That's true.
actually there, but I know there's a plot of land for it.
But Mr. Davis, yeah, I understood. I mean, that really is probably one of the first steps to,
Yeah.
if we do pursue
Well, I
golf
appreciate
courses,
that.
you got to figure that out.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant?
No.
Okay, I haven't gotten to the,
This is kind of unrelated, but being that making comments about things that are unrelated, the county could probably use more ball fields. We're bringing all of these children into
Knew
these.
this was gonna be about
You
baseball.
know, I'm a youth coach. I coach baseball and softball here in the county, and we are in desperate need of having more space for these kids to play. I know that the leagues are turning kids away because there's not enough space for the amount of teams that would be required. And you know, all the time we're listening to all the developers coming in and talking about this and this and that, and I don't ever hear anybody talking about recreation for the kids that we're bringing into the county. We always hear about commerce, we hear about all these other things, but there is a need for that. And I just want to
Well-
put that in your brain, just so you can be thinking a little bit about that, especially if you decide not to put a golf course in.
Well, you will see on the PUD amendment that comes back in September with this adoption, the Governor's Park PUD currently requires 20-some acres, 24 acres of county park, dedicated county park. We're expanding that to 100 acres in our PUD amendment. So, yeah, and it had a requirement of 3 or 4 ball fields. Yeah, this will be soccer fields, more
Make
ball
sure you
fields.
include the girls as well as the boys. It's not just just not a male-dominated, sports thing. There's also, girls and women that are involved in
Yeah,
these
be
sports.
soccer. I mean, we
Yes.
haven't designed it yet, but we are expanding the park that'll be, we will develop it, we maintain it. That's currently in the Governor's Park PUD, that we were to build 24-acre park, give it to the county, and then maintain it with our CDD. We're gonna expand it to 100 acres
And you can
with
see
the extra
that-
land.
You can see that on the map that's on the right-hand side right here.
Yeah, the purple, which was industrial, is becoming more park.
Thank you.
So more to come. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And with that, any other questions of the applicant? All right, I'm going to open the public hearing. Does anybody have anything they want to share with us on this application? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and I'll bring it back to commission for discussion recommendation.
I'll move staff's recommendation for approval of comp 26-0009.
For transmittal.
It says
For transmittal,
transmittal.
thank you. Transmittal.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded to transmit, to approve the transmittal. Any discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay. All right. One last little bit of business before, thank you all very much. I do have to open the last public hearing for general comments. Anybody wish to share any of their thoughts with us? Elena? Okay. Then I'll close that. And with that, our next meeting is August the 4th, same place, same time, same station. Any comments, closing comments? All right, meeting's adjourned.
Good meeting.
You didn't use your option here.
I didn't, thank you, but it's nice to have it.
You-